Former FBI Director James Comey's exoneration letter in Hillary Clinton's email probe was watered down.
The gross negligence was changed to extremely careless.
It's really threatening the integrity of our justice system.
FCC voted to overturn the Obama-era regulations supporters call net neutrality rules.
It is not the job of the government to be in the business of picking winners and losers in the internet economy.
Republican Senator Marco Rubio says he's a no unless the child tax credit for the working poor is expanded. The president believes the senator will come around.
I think that Senator Rubio will be there for sure. We're doing very well on the tax front. 1, 2, 3. For every one new regulation, we have eliminated 22.
I can't believe you would question my ability to...
Girl, bad. I mean, but it was a joke, but at the beginning, it was a joke.
White House press briefing room, and she's up on, and you haven't really gotten along. That's a fake pie. I don't think that's really joking.
And all you've had to watch is the adversarial relationship that April Ryan, especially in the last couple of days, who's just gone after Sarah Huckabee Sanders. It doesn't look like they're going to make up over pies.
You know what? It just dawned on me. Hashtag fake news is actually hashtag bake news, right?
He'll be at the Tri-Degree Comedy Club here in Manhattan giving stand-up.
You know, it's not funny at all. What we're talking about is going on in the Department of Justice, but it looks like there were certain people about a year ago who edited the evidence to exonerate Hillary Clinton so she could be elected president. That's what it looks like to a number of Republicans.
That's right. Fox News has obtained these new documents. These documents were just released, and it looks like it proves there have been multiple edits when James Comey had to exonerate Hillary Clinton in that statement 2 summers ago in 2016 while she was running for president. And it looks like there was more than one edit. We've been hearing a lot about that grossly negligent edit, but there are more than that.
That's right. I mean, we knew James Comey wrote the exoneration letter long before they interviewed her or anyone else. So the 2 months before, in May. So the sense was, and we've known this, that the fix was in. They'd already cleared her before they did the full investigation. Now what we're getting, Senator Ron Johnson has released a letter that shows sort of one version and then the version that James Comey gave, showing not just on the grossly negligent, which is a huge part of it because that would be the level of criminality, but there's 4, 5, 6 other places where they watered it down to make it look less bad for Hillary Clinton.
Less bad because they thought she was hacked by hostile actors. Anyway, keep in mind, we do now know that Peter Strzok, the guy who was texting his girlfriend and hates Trump, he's the guy who took out grossly negligent. This was the original passage. We're going to read it to you, and then you'll hear what James Comey actually said that day. Originally, they wanted to say, there is evidence to support a conclusion that Secretary Clinton and others used the private email server in a manner that was grossly negligent, and that is criminal, with respect to the handling of classified information. This is what he wound up saying.
Although we did not find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information, there is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information.
Big difference there, no doubt.
That doesn't sound nearly as scary and bad.
No, another line that was left out, the original version said this is especially concerning because all those emails were housed on servers not supported by the full-time security staff like those found at the departments and agencies of the U.S. government. Other references to the intelligence community, to the likelihood that spies had penetrated those servers, that references to the volume, the number of emails. All of those things removed from the original version to the version that James Comey talked about. And again, Peter Strzok and others involved in that editing process, feels like Clinton partisans got their teeth into this to water it down, which hurts not just, you know, it wasn't just about taking on President Trump. I mean, Bernie Sanders and others would look at this and feel like she was exonerated preemptively.
Well, people were so worried about classified information being gathered by other countries and people being able to hack into her account and learn information that would put a lot of our men and women's lives at risk. And so something that was in the original wording was reasonably likely that hostile actors got access to Hillary Clinton's emails. They changed that to it's possible instead of it's reasonably likely.
Anything is possible, but the way they had it the first time, why did they change it? It looks like they were putting their thumb on the scale. Victoria Tenzing, who used to work in the Department of Justice, she is outraged at what is going on there now. Listen.
These events that we have been seeing over the last year, but now recently, are just terrifying because it's really threatening the integrity of our justice system. We now have facts that show us that it's very clear that top officials at the Comey, FBI, and the Obama Justice Department harbored such animus toward Donald Trump that they hatched a brazen plot.
You look at the timeline, it all looks reverse engineered. The original document reads like something probably based on facts and an investigation of the FBI that may have led to something where she's indicted. It looks like over the course of 2 months, the political folks stepped in and said, time to water it down, time to dilute it. That's exactly what most people fear.
Well, Senator Johnson, that's his big beef, and he sent a letter to the FBI, to the current director, and he said it just appears that you're trying to change the tone of this to be more favorable to Hillary Clinton.
And ultimately it was. However, they thought she was going to win.
That's right.
And if she would have won, we would not have known any of this stuff, but Donald Trump won, and he's trying to figure out his Department of Justice, although there are so many holdovers. There are a number of Republicans in Congress who would like to see a special investigator look into the investigators. However, there are a lot of Republicans who also feel that the independent counsel, or rather the Inspector General, this Michael Horowitz, who's got a staff of 500 at the Department of Justice, he's got it covered, and they feel great confidence in what he's going to find out. And he's the one who let us know through the information they gathered that Peter Strzok was communicating with his never-Trumper girlfriend, Lisa Page, at the Department of Justice.
Also communicating that we need a backup plan in case this guy wins, which is a lot of smoke that points to the fact that they were ready to push Russian collusion if Trump were to win. All these things coming out now.
Yesterday, the FEC voted to end net neutrality rules on the Internet. They repealed that. It's been in place for the last 2 years, and it protected consumers against bad behavior from Internet providers. For instance, like you have Comcast, that's the largest Internet provider. You have a Verizon, and 30% of everyone who has the Internet, those companies might have a monopoly on it. 30% of people who have the Internet don't have a choice. There's only one company that they can choose from, and they're scared they're going to raise rates.
Right, and if you looked at CNN.com yesterday, you saw that what they did was the end of the Internet as we know it. No, you know what this FCC did was the Obama administration created essentially a new public utility with the Internet and had the FCC regulate it. And there's a lot of regulation. Keep in mind, before they came along, free enterprise seemed to be going just fine, and now what they've done is they've cut the cord on the regulation.
You're right. This is about government control from the Obama administration versus free enterprise. There was a great tweet that Ted Cruz put out about this that laid it out really nicely. I think we have it. We could put it on the screen. That reminds us that a lot of this freaking out is for nothing. He starts with a snowflake who's believing the online propaganda might read, OMG, without net neutrality, the Internet is gone. Then an informed observer says, the FCC issued that net neutrality rule in 2015. The Internet grew up wonderfully free from government regulation, and this restores the status quo. Then the snowflake replies, never mind. You're right. I was on the Internet before 2015. This is about, if you believe in freedom and free markets, then you believe innovation flourishes there, opportunities flourish there. The more government gets its clutches in, when have we ever seen the government say, well, I've got some control, now I want less? Government's always going to want to regulate more and more. And the Internet is one of the very few free spaces that we have, and that's what the Trump administration is trying to restore.
All right, Jimmy Kimmel weighed in on this last night.
Wonderful.
The Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, did something absolutely despicable today. They voted to put an end to net neutrality. Now, you and this jackhole you appointed to run the FCC, big corporations are about to take full control of the Internet. So Merry Christmas, everybody.
So I don't think he liked it. Actually, the way the Obama administration regulations were written, they benefited Google and Netflix and things like that. Now they're just cutting the cord on the regulations, saying essentially that your Internet service provider, whether it's Comcast or whoever, Fios, whoever you get your Internet from, they would be able to charge somebody who uses a lot of the Internet, like Netflix, charge them a little more, and then say Netflix would add another $1 onto your bill.
The question is, who do you want to be in control? A government regulator making that call, or a private business making that call? Well, that's what it boils down.
A lot of people don't know what the heck net neutrality is. We're going to have the FCC commissioner, Ajit Pai, the guy that Jimmy Kimmel was just
the guy who ended the Internet yesterday.
Right. We're going to have him on to we're going to ask him all these questions. He used to work for Verizon. We'll find out what this means for us, the consumer, versus the big companies.
I'm going to ask him when I can no longer log on to the internet.
There you go.
Tomorrow, the next day.
We would ask you for emails, but we understand it's been shut down. So,
it's the end of the internet. All right, Jillian has some more headlines for us. Hey, Jillian.
That's right. Good Friday morning to you guys, to you at home as well. So we want to tell you about this story coming out of California. We now know the name of the first firefighter killed while battling the wildfires ravaging through Southern California. Corey Iverson leaves behind a pregnant wife and a 2-year-old daughter, Evie. The 32-year-old was part of a team on the front lines trying to contain the Thomas fire when something went tragically wrong. No other details have been released. A dangerous close call between American and Russian fighter jets nearly colliding over Syria. 2 Russian planes caught flying in an agreed off-limits area. The U.S. Air Force jets firing flares meant to send a strong warning, a maneuver known as headbutting. But one Russian plane flew so close, it almost crashed into an American jet. The whole incident lasted about 40 minutes. NFL quarterback Marcus Mariota now apologizing to the media because his mom told him to. The Tennessee Titans signal caller was a little brief with reporters after Sunday's loss. It was the first thing he brought up with them this week.
President Trump one step closer to putting tax cuts in your stocking this Christmas, but he's getting some pushback from Republicans.
With a vote expected next week, Senators Marco Rubio and Mike Lee are demanding last-minute changes to the child tax credit.
Join us right now with his comments, Deputy White House Press Secretary Hogan Gidley, who, he's wearing a coat. He's on the North Lawn. Hogan, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, y'all.
Okay, so the Republicans have a tiny little advantage in the Senate, so they need every one of their men and women to vote yes, but it looks like, can't really count on Bob Corker. And now Marco Rubio's got a problem. Apparently he wants more money for the tax credit, right?
It looks like that at this point. But look, the president has worked with Senator Rubio to this point to actually double what they had started out with. The number was a lot lower. It's gotten a lot higher because of the talks we had with Senator Rubio. We hope that this tax bill actually gets to the president's desk because it is the largest tax increase we've seen in just about, the tax decrease, the tax cut we've seen in about 30 years, which is extremely exciting for us. And we would expect that most Republicans get on board with actually giving people their own money to keep.
Hogan, what's Senator Lee's beef with us? Why doesn't he want to support it?
I'm not sure. The negotiations are ongoing. I mean, obviously, we're trying to get this through before Christmas. As you just mentioned, we want tax cuts for Christmas here at the White House. We want the American people to be able to keep more of their own money. This tax bill does that. Obviously, the president's 3 main areas of concern were the tax code was just too big, it was too bulky, it was too confusing. That's actually been addressed in this bill. We wanted tax cuts for the middle class. The president demanded that. He's got that. And also bringing down the corporate tax rate, something else the president has demanded. All those things are in the bill, and we hope to get the bill to the president's desk as soon as possible.
Well, a lot of expectations on that, no doubt. We've got to get your comments on a second topic as well. There are new documents now showing that then FBI Director James Comey and others, including potentially Peter Strzok, watered down his remarks. You recall there was the early draft that James Comey put together that exonerated Hillary Clinton before she was even interviewed. Now we're getting more evidence out from Senator Ron Johnson that there were a series of edits to really water down the statement and exonerate Hillary Clinton. Do you have any plans, does the White House have any plans to have the DOJ look even further and more aggressively into how Hillary Clinton was treated?
Look, the president is absolutely supportive of and has full faith and confidence in the rank and file members of the DOJ and also the FBI. However, it is troubling, deeply troubling, that the revelations have now come to light that there is extreme bias against this president with high-up members of the team there at the FBI who were investigating Hillary Clinton at the time. And we're a little concerned at what we're seeing here. Obviously, those text messages give us quite a bit of pause and should be eye-opening at an agency that should be, quite frankly, unbiased.
You're right about that, but it doesn't look that way to some. Hogan, thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Hogan.
Merry Christmas, y'all.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Moving on, one mayor has the answer to ending gun violence. Trade in your guns for some groceries. Is that a good idea or a fair trade? You bet Kevin Jackson has something to say about that, and he joins us next.
Your news by the numbers. First, $846,648. That is how much an inheritance check is worth that UPS is accused of losing. The company now offering the Canadian man an apology and a $32 refund for his shipping costs. Next, $0. That's because it's free shipping day. Free Shipping Day Friday is what it's called. Right now, hundreds of retailers like Kohl's and Walmart are waiving shipping fees and guaranteeing delivery by Christmas Eve. Finally, $5. That is how much it's going to cost you to get your hands on Subway's $5 footlong. It is coming back next month. But the New York Post is reporting more than 400 franchise owners. They've signed a petition against this deal. They're saying it tanked their profits in years past. Steve?
But people love the value. All right, Ainsley, thank you. Meanwhile, 2 police officers in St. Louis shot on Thursday. They're lucky to be alive thanks to their bulletproof vests, but violent crime in that area is said to be getting out of control.
But now the mayor has a controversial idea, a plan. She says she's telling people to hand over their guns in exchange for free groceries. Kevin Jackson is a Fox News contributor, and he joins us now with his reaction. Kevin, you have a home in St. Louis. You lived there recently. Here's some numbers just from 2017 alone about the killings in St. Louis. I think we can put them up on the screen. The number of murders year to date at 197. 185 of those murders carried out with firearms. Most of the violence, as I've read up on this as well, is black-on-black crime. Young black men killing other young black men. Kevin, it sounds like a unique idea. Hey, turn in your gun and you'll get some groceries in exchange. Will something like this work?
To be surpassed only by Hug-a-Thug, Pete. You remember that?
Yeah.
They did the Hug-a-Thug thing, I think, in like Philadelphia or some other liberal utopia. You know, look, hey, St. Louis is going to have the fattest criminals in the land, so they could brag about that with the Chamber of Commerce. What an asinine idea. And, you know, when you look at the demographics of this, where you've got these young black men ages 20 to 29 are the biggest victims of these crimes, and the unsafe neighborhoods that have been created by mayors like Lyda Krewson and in the case of St. Louis, Mayor Slay before her, you know, these ideas that I call them leftist bourgeois cocktail sippers want to try, and as opposed to addressing the real issues of fatherless homes and you know the business development that needs to be going on in St. Louis. They're not doing that, but they decide, hey, we'll fatten up our criminals. Maybe they'll get so fat they can't commit any crimes.
Kevin, you know, if somebody on the right suggested this, the left would scream, they're trading safety for food.
Yeah, that was one of my talking points, Steve, that, you know, if Donald Trump said, let's do this, they'd say exactly that. They would call it racism. And they'd say, you know, they're starving these people in order to get their guns so that they can no longer protect themselves. Look, it's a matter of perspective, but the facts are St. Louis is probably geometrically more dangerous than Chicago. And we're constantly talking about Chicago. We're constantly talking about areas like Detroit. And instead of Mayor Krewson actually doing something to address the problem, getting these kids in vocational programs, really working on the issues, and quite frankly, working on the societal issues of leftism that creates these environments where the high crime areas, they're trying these types of ideas. And by the way, these things never work. These crooks don't turn in their guns for the most part. Programs. Yeah, the buyback programs don't work, and what they do is they end up bringing in these guns that don't work.
Criminals don't turn in their guns, ultimately. The mayor says we can't incarcerate our way out of this situation, but it doesn't sound like any buyback programs have been effective either.
Not at all. And the sad part about that is that comment that we can't incarcerate. You know, you're exactly right. Don't put everybody in prison, but how about we actually do reforms and societal reforms that keeps fathers in their homes and creates economic opportunity for some of these youngsters.
All right, Kevin Jackson today joining us from Phoenix. Kevin, have a good weekend.
You too.
All right. Meanwhile, straight ahead on this Friday, a crime against our nation's heroes. A man is accused of posing as a decorated veteran. There he is right there. Details on the despicable crime that he's committing coming up.
Someone's always going to find a medal that's wrong and then start asking you questions. And the media giddy over Omarosa's White House exit.
She said she has a story to tell, and I'm sure she'll be selling that story.
But is there criticism about personal politics? Rachel Campos-Duffy weighs in live in person next.
Usually there's a baby, although just 2 days ago, we tried to do it with the baby. Baby Jesus was not cooperating. So there was a doll. Because baby Jesus started pulling hair.
Yeah, it's like that.
That would have been a cute card. I might include a few pictures.
Yeah, that would be cute.
Did you just say you haven't done your Christmas card yet?
I know. No.
It's the 15th of December.
There's a tradition in my family of sending them out late. Go figure.
Yeah. Well, you have a good excuse. How many children at home?
8 good excuses.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's true. Well, welcome, and we'll be together this weekend.
We will be together
this
weekend.
Okay, you're hosting this weekend. All right, so Omarosa calling it quits yesterday, or being fired from the White House. What's the story here? The media is going to town with us, calling her a villain.
Well, I don't know how she left, why she left. She's saying she's going to talk about it in her new book. I will say that the animus of the media, the way the media has jumped in to talk about somebody who's really, she's not a big, huge.
Why do they hate her?
Well, because she's a former Democrat, first of all. Let's make that clear. She was on Al Gore's campaign, but she did support the president in a very strong way, was very loyal to him. And there is a very special punishment for minorities who are either conservatives or now Trump supporters. So if you're a Trump supporter and you think you've had it bad, imagine being Hispanic or black. The punishment from the media is so much worse.
And we have a little montage of about a minute, so you can see exactly what she's talking about.
Oh, Angela. Oh,
bye,
Angela.
girl.
Oh,
bye.
Angela.
But bye, honey. You have never represented the community. You are skin folk. We don't own you like Zora. Goodbye. Good riddance. Goodbye. Deuces.
Angela. She said to me, I hope you find some joy in your life. Well, today I have found it.
I'm trying to keep a straight face here. How big a loss is Omarosa to this White House, Nick?
Well, she didn't really have a real job in the first place. No one could figure out exactly what her duties were in the first place.
Truth be told, she's really a pariah in the African-American community because she's always sort of been the villain, and her
so nasty to so many women and so many women of color.
She said that line from the movie.
Right, that is a famous line from the movie. Here's what I don't like about the way she did exit, is that she says, I'm going to write this book. I've never liked this idea of aides and consultants going out and writing books. As a political spouse, I can tell you that candidates are at their most, their whole families are vulnerable and exposed during this campaign process, especially with Donald Trump being a first-time candidate in this last race. So I feel like it's using access that you were given as a privilege. We saw Nicole Wallace, I think, is somebody who really cashed in and tried to rebrand herself in that way. I think it's very crass and tacky, and I wish we would leave those books to the journalists, and that consultants and aides that are close to candidates would treat their job with the same respect that a lawyer, for example, or a doctor would in terms of protecting the privacy of their clients.
Yeah, a lot of confidence involved in those conversations.
I mean, they have access to your family. They see you squabbling with your kids or your husband. I mean, it's kind of, it's really, I think it's really not very.
Yeah, but once you leave a job, you need a new job. And yesterday, a lot of people were talking about, hey, it sounds like Paul Ryan wants to leave after this Congress is over. Although they've said he's happy.
By the way, I will just say this before we get on to Paul. With Omarosa, I know she thinks that maybe writing this book might rebrand her. Once you're complicit in this campaign, in the Trump campaign, Ivanka will learn this too. You will never be allowed back into that cool club. So if that's the goal of Omarosa's book, to get back in, they'll never let you back. You might as well stay with your new conservative friends, because you'll never be allowed back in. Regarding Paul, my husband spoke to Paul yesterday after all these rumors, and I can honestly tell you, he said, I have not had this conversation with my family at all. I am laser focused on tax reform. And if you know Paul, that's absolutely true. I will tell you again, as a political spouse, families have the conversation about should we keep doing this all the time, because it is a very stressful job that involves a lot of separation and it's a lot of hardship on the family. And so that your family would be discussing, should we, it happens all the time.
Sure.
Members will never share that because it's such an honor to serve that you don't want to seem like you're complaining about the separation. But privately, between members, between spouses, between families, that conversation happens all the time. It doesn't mean anything.
So, I mean, Politico listed, dozens of aides say not one of them heard that he would stay. But you're saying it's wide open at this point. If he gets tax reform passed, I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. You could sort of drop the mic after that, too, and say, I'm done.
You could, except he's a very policy-driven person. I mean, he still believes that our entitlement system is in trouble, and it could cause the ruin of our economy.
So he's got more to do?
I think he has more to do, and as long as the majorities are there, he can get it done.
The House seems to like him. Right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's always going to be people like we were
the
just
House Freedom Caucus.
The House Freedom Caucus.
Crazy about him.
Not crazy about some things. I think they wish that he would give more control back to the committees. There's been some discussion about that. I actually agree with that.
And I think the Freedom Caucus is not on board with the CR that's going to fund the government, and I think they're going to vote no at this point.
Right, but there's always going to be tension, that kind of tension when you're in a majority and you have that wide of a members from such wide backgrounds and states. But listen, he is widely respected and loved in that conference. I've actually been in the conference meetings. I've been allowed in because of Sean, and he is loved and respected. There's no question about it.
There you go.
Well, you're loved and respected here, and you're allowed to come back. You're coming back tomorrow to host the show?
Yeah, she'll be in for Abby on Saturday and Sunday, all 8 hours. So be there with us.
All right, we'll be watching.
Thanks,
we will be.
Appreciate it.
All right. Get to work on that Christmas card.
I am on it.
Right now, it's looking like an Easter card.
I did mine just a few days ago. I'll tell you where to go.
Okay.
Love it. All right. Jillian, have you done your Christmas card yet?
Nah, I'm not going to.
Oh.
I was going to say Merry Christmas, everyone. No cards this year. Okay, good morning to you guys. Good morning to you at home. Hey, I'm just being honest. All right, a crime against our nation's heroes. A New York man accused of stolen valor. Papocia Reginald Wright claimed he served 25 years and was a Special Forces Green Beret with a Purple Heart, which got him into galas, even field access to the New York Giants. But the group Guardians of the Green Beret says his military record shows he only served about 7 years, never saw combat, and spent most of his time as a driver. No word on if he will face charges. North Korea may have accidentally shown a photo of its first atomic bomb. The photo, which appears on the wall in the background on a state TV broadcast, shows former leader Kim Jong-il inspecting a device. Now, if it's real, it means the country could have had the weapon as far back as 2006. And if that doesn't scare you, these comments from former basketball star Dennis Rodman just might. He sat down with Stephen Colbert, speaking candidly about his bizarre friendship with Kim Jong-un.
I don't see how people can sit there and say, this person's a madman. He probably is. But I didn't see that.
Rodman claims during one of his 5 visits, the dictator said he doesn't want war. Dramatic video showing an off-duty Florida deputy saving a man thrown from his jet ski. Take a look. By the time he reached the man, he was floating face down and unconscious.
You all right, dude? You all right? You all right? I got you. I know.
There. Luckily,
but he's okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Good.
Oh, man. All right. Thank you. Right over our shoulder, I can see out the window, Janice Dean is with a bunch of people. And Janice, something you can see from where I am, you're near a giant dog.
Yes, I was going to save that to the end, but we might as well talk to the dog. The dog actually does not talk, but I have someone who will talk for the dog. Hi, what's your name?
I'm Grace Birch, founder of the Grace Birch Community Alliance.
Okay, awesome. And who is this?
This is Otto von Schnoodel, the main character of the book. He travels the country giving books away.
Oh, my.
And our newest book, Otto's Neighborhood Heroes, celebrates police, fire, and rescue. And I know Sean is a firefighter.
Fantastic.
And you have told, and we would love to give this.
Okay,
this is for you.
This is
for
amazing.
Ainsley.
Okay, let's do the weather real quick. Hang on. Yes. Oh, yay. Okay, let's do the weather real quick. Okay, Otto, hang on. Otto doesn't talk. 21 in New York, 12 in Cleveland. It is cold across the Northeast, and I just want to make mention, if you're traveling today across the Northeast, we're going to have a big blast of, well, not a big blast, but a quick blast of snow that could cause some problems on the commute later on this afternoon. There it is over New Jersey and Philadelphia, New York City. Very pretty for Christmas, but it could cause some problems on the roadways. Okay, how are you guys doing? Do you have anything to say to Pete, Steve, and Ainsley?
Merry Christmas.
Fantastic. We love everybody, including stuffed dogs.
I know. Tell her thank you for the books. That's so sweet. Our kids will love that.
That don't talk.
That's right.
A talking dog would be a story on its own.
True.
Tough for TV if they don't talk. I better start talking now, too. Plus, it's Bill of Rights Day, so do people really know what is in the Bill of Rights?
Can you tell me what the Bill of Rights are?
Nope. No, can't name any of them.
You can't name one of them? I think you can.
Freedom of speech?
Boom.
Rob Schmidt.